Creative Come Up is brought to you by Jones Management. Follow us on Instagram at Managed by Jones and tune in to new episodes of Creative Come Up every Tuesday, wherever podcasts are listened to.
Welcome back to the Creative Come Up. I'm your host, Aonna Jones, and we are conversating creativity with someone that I have been a fan of for a very long time. I wanted to emphasize that so you guys could feel the each and every very to represent the years. I don't know if that's accurate or not because I'm not going to count that and I don't know. But I'm excited. We have an artist with us. I'm an artist, so it's good to be in the space of another artist and talk creativity with her. Her name is Meesh.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for having us in your space. How are you?
I'm good. It's wonderful to have you here. I feel like, we just talked about this, but I didn't meet you, but I found you on Tumblr, so this feels very full circle, very like
she's a real person.
Coming together. Yeah, I like it. So
this is exciting.
For inviting me on this.
Oh, no problem. Like, my husband kind of curated the list of people that we were going to talk to. And we, of course, had to come out here for other reasons. And he's like, well, while we're out here, why don't you want to send her a message and ask her? I'm like, whoa, slow down. Like, I don't even think I've said like, hi, how are you?
We haven't interacted like at all. So
right. I'm like, I know like when she posts, I will watch her stuff and I will get so excited. I'm like, Malcolm, look, this is so nice. Like, look at this. I really like this. And me trying to find a way to like purchase something or a link to somewhere that I've like never found. But I'm like, this is awesome. I'm so excited. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, I sent her a message. I was like, well, you did what? It was like one of those moments when you're like telling your best friend, like, oh, yeah, I like this person. They're like, oh, girl, I already told him for you. It's like, okay.
You need that person, though.
You do. Because then we wouldn't be here right now, today, bringing it all together.
Yes.
So I'm excited. I was introduced to your work through Toby and the cute little guy illustration that had kind of like the cosmic rings around his head. And as soon as I saw that, I immediately fell in love. And I was like, who did this? Oh my goodness. Because I went to school for graphic design. So I'm always into like the design and illustration, and anytime, a creative person does something and they have, imagery to go with it, I'm just like, who did this? I know it wasn't you because I know what you do. So I need you to tag the person that did it. And I think like through the comments, I was able to find you and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so nice. And this is so cute. And I'm like, Malcolm, look, she did this animated GIF of him and look at the little stars going around. And I think it was like a couple years ago, maybe like 2 years ago. I don't know. No, that math don't sound right. Maybe like 3, 4. It doesn't matter how many years ago it was. It was just not present. We went to a concert for Toby, and he had some of the merch there with like the shirts that like the rainbow stripes on it.
Oh,
and I was so happy to get one. I still have it. It's it's been through a lot, but I'm so excited. And I told my mom, I was like, if I could just cut him out of the shirt and put him as like, I don't know, somewhere, anywhere in our house, but away from our kids because they're destructive, but somewhere to like keep him and immortalize him. But that was like my introduction. So to see kind of like how your work has evolved, and like when you're doing client work, that's their work. Yeah. But to see your personal work, I'm like, I like this too. I like it.
Thank you. That's like one of the things that I guess get kind of like worried about, because I know a lot of people follow me from him, and so they expect to sort of see this character. We've called him Little Lou. What did you call him?
What did I call him? The little cute guy?
Yeah, no, it's like I don't think we've ever told anybody like, oh, this is his name, but
okay,
it's whatever. It's fun. But yeah, so it's just like I'm always usually posting my own work, and like the stuff I do for him, sometimes I'll post like sneak peeks, but most of the time I'll just sort of leave that until we're done with everything and like it's launched and whatnot. So it's good to see that you actually still enjoy like the other side of it and the other work.
Yeah, that is an important aspect because people are coming to you looking for a certain thing, but it's like, hey, you know, like I just did that for this person and me, myself personally, this is my art, this is who I am. And from that, I see like there's a lot of female representation. There's a lot of different poses. It seems like your art's really fluid. If you guys haven't checked her out yet, follow her on Instagram. All of that information will be wherever you can view it, up, down, to the side, on the screen. It'll be there. But yes, it seems like very fluid, like women in poses, but you can kind of like still feel the movement through them.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's something that I've always sort of done. I even feel like I try to do that with Toby's stuff or like with whatever I do. I usually just kind of like I love movement and I love how something feels like on a page. So I'm always like looking for a way for your eye to just sort of like travel around like a rectangle or a square.
Yeah.
And so I don't really like things to sit in the middle. But yeah, that's like,
that's, yeah, thinking back, I'm like visualizing in my head of like what I have seen from social media where there isn't really like a central focus, because a lot of life, like you try to focus on one thing and there's like, oh, there's something over here calling my attention. Oh, there's some down here. So it's not like we're looking straight ahead at a lot of things, which that is the focus for a lot of art. And that's the approach. Like, let's just make it straightforward. Like, I don't want to have people think about it too much. It's like that in marketing too, but art is such a different aspect and it's a different avenue because it's like you're putting pieces of yourself on the paper with every stroke and you have your own idea in your head of what this means. And then other people look at it and they see something totally different. Or someone will see the same thing as you, but explain it a totally different way. So what's kind of like your thought process as you're creating each piece?
So, I mean, like I said, I start with like the movement on the canvas, but for the most part, I feel like my work really changed in about like end of 2018. My brother had passed away and I was sort of, in my artwork, sorry, I'm like getting a little bit worked up.
That's all right.
But in my work, I used to be just like focused on women and I really love just like drawing girls. Like I love girls, like, and I was focused more on like, I guess like a standard portrait, like head, face. I was getting into figuring out how to paint. And then I actually like a couple weeks ago, I looked back at my work and after that, like the first piece I did was a like line drawing, just like a line drawing on like page maybe 4 feet. And it was just like the whole body. And I think, let me backtrack a little bit because I'm like not focused. So when I was focusing on just doing like the portrait, I was mainly just focused on like trying to figure out how to paint. Yeah. Because I went to school for illustration, and everything was so quick. It was like you have to do something within a few hours, and so things took like maybe 4 hours or something like that, and it was just like so quick. And then me focused on painting, I was like, okay, like I can really just slow down, and I really loved the slowed down process. But also with that work, I realized that I wasn't ready to confront like a lot of past issues, a lot of anxieties, a lot of trauma. Like I was just drawing and painting just to draw and paint,
Right.
just to like sort of keep up my practice and not ready to confront those things. But after in 2018, like I feel like all that stuff just came like pouring out, and it was just like, oh, you need to actually not run away from these things. You need to sort of confront these things. And I think I found a better way of coping, like through body movement and through like trying to be more grounded in myself and not to be like in my head, you know, because I just like, I think, I overthink, I analyze. And I still do that. I try not to, like, painting is not,
it's not the end all, but it's a help.
Or no, it's like, I feel like a lot of people use painting for therapy, and like, I would love to do that, but it's usually like feels like a war in here. I'm just like running around, like I'm looking at things, I'm thinking, like I'm writing stuff down. And in that way, that is sort of how my work has changed. I like don't even remember what the question was.
It's all right, because I don't either. My memory, you know, it's not really the best. But one key thing that stood out, what you said was like you're trying to ground yourself through your art, and like that, you don't see that. So to hear that, it's like I'm trying to find stabilization when my paintings, there's movement, like there's life in them, there's fluidity in them. So to hear that, it's like, not to say like we're in two opposite spaces, but it's like, let me show you this movement that is happening in my head, and like, you know, everything that goes on in your head and everybody else's head, like whether it's thoughts, anxieties, like all these things are natural, and so is movement. So for me to stabilize myself through this painting, but also to show the movement of it, because I don't know why, I'm just like picturing a lava lamp and how
God. So I'm obsessed with lava lamps, and that's actually like probably one of my main inspirations is like a lava lamp.
Wow,
because like so it's like I like how we're connected right here. Yeah, I'm always just like, no, like everything's a lava lamp. Like, everything's just like moving, you know. So I'm like really happy.
That's hilarious. I think when I was in high school, I was like obsessing over a lava lamp, telling my mom, like, did you see how this moves? Like, this is just so cool. Like, how can we make this? Like, or do something like this? Like, Aonna, just go buy one. That's not what I want to do. Like, let's figure out how to make it. Wow, that's really cool. Connection number 2. Yeah. This is awesome. But yeah, fluidity, the lava lamp, it's all here and you can see it, but like you're trying to find balance, you know, within yourself, and to like recognize like this is not therapy, like this is work. And even, you know, I can kind of see how it still is therapy for you, because therapy for a lot of people, it's not relaxing, it's not enjoyable. You have to confront things that you don't want to do. So it's therapy, but like the reality of it, it's not therapy to relax you, it's not therapy to calm you, but it's literally therapy to help you think about everything that you have gone through and to like categorize that into a painting. Because I'm pretty sure every time you look at certain paintings, you're like, okay, yep, that thought is back. Or, you know, like I was dealing with this issue and now I've overcome this, you know, that it's kind of like a reminder of whatever that thought process was for you during that time. So to see that, I'm just like, wow, like it's here in real life. I gotta fix the camera. I'm sorry. The mic, I forgot what it was called. But that is just like, it's so crazy to me to kind of like see the things in real life. And that's probably one thing that I would encourage for the people that are like listening and watching. If you have somebody whose art that you like on Instagram, like find out a way to support them, to purchase something from them so you can actually see what that's like. Because we're on social media. Like, that's not going to last forever. Even though they might want to push it far. I don't know who they is, but the people upstairs, downstairs, wherever they're living, they're going to try to push social media as far as they can. But we might wake up tomorrow and everything is gone. So how would you remember, like, who it is that you really like their art? But it's like, to experience it in person is a different thing. And I'm probably just talking to artists because everybody's probably like, what is she talking about? But that's okay. It's all right. Just come back later on. And then, it'll come full circle. But finding a way to support them and to like feel what they feel and to actually get to know them, because your art is just a piece of you. It's not you.
Yeah.
Like, it just represents a stage in time. And it's like, that's captured. Now we're on to something else, to the next big thing, or like the next great victory, or like whatever else it is that needs to be conquered. Like, I don't know, does that make sense?
I think so.
I talked myself in a couple loops.
Yeah, I'm like, so I do like definitely agree with seeing things in person. It's like, I always feel like I see things on Instagram and I think it's this crazy huge piece, and then like I get there in person, it's like
so small.
It's like 6 inches or something,
Yeah.
or it's like crazy, but it has this incredible amount of detail, and everything just feels different in person. I'm like a much more physical artist. Like, I do digital art, but I just really love the physical space.
Yeah.
And then also with what you said about therapy, that's true. Therapy is hard work. It's not always like, oh, like rainbows and sunshines. I think like that's what I was saying, is like my work doesn't feel like rainbows and sunshine. It feels like therapy. It feels like the hard work. So I'm glad you corrected me.
It's okay. Different perspective, different lens. We all gotta switch them from time to time. But I'm really just like appreciative to see these things in person and to experience it. And one thing like that I'm, reeling myself back in my head that you said, and going to art school, and kind of how like everything is a rushed process.
Yeah.
I went to Columbia in Chicago, so those 4-hour time blocks, I'm like, oh, we are going through art school PTSD.
Yeah.
And trying to get everything done in like a compact amount of time, and like it's not really teaching you to pace yourself. Like, we don't learn that skill,
not.
Especially if you didn't come from that, like knowing how to deal with longer projects and longevity. And that's probably like a downfall of college now that I think about it, and why even like myself, I'll tell my husband, like if somebody's asking for a project, I'm like, no, it needs to be quick. Like, I don't have the attention span to sit down and like go over a year-long project. Like, I can't. I get anxiety, and then I'm overthinking, and I'm just like, ooh, wait a minute now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you have to just be real with like your process too, and then also communicating that to the client is like, oh, I work, like this is how I'm working, this is like what my schedule is like everything's always different.
Yeah, some clients are understanding, and then some are not. They have their timetable, but then I'm probably not the artist for you. You probably got to go somewhere else, and that's okay. It is a part of life, like kind of dealing with that. But what I love about your work is that you get to make art that expresses you. That's totally different from like me. A lot of my work is like client driven, or it's like my free time.
I mean, I feel like I'm lucky enough to like really push for like my personal work. I used to do commissions, and I used to do graphic design also. But I realized I cannot work with people. It's really hard. And then it's so hard to work with somebody. So I feel just like really lucky that right now I get to like kind of focus on my work for the most part. I'm still doing a lot of stuff for Toby too. So like that's where my creative life is split right now, is like between his work and then between my work. But it's working out. But
that's good that you work with another creative though, like someone that will understand, like, she has a process, so she needs to do things this way. Like, I can't come with an outlandish, deadline kind of sort of. Yeah, everybody still tries. There's no like let me still shoot my shot just to see if it's a go or not. If it's a no, we understand, but let's continue to try. But it's always good to like work with other creative people. And yeah, I'm thankful for like the career path that we're going down now, to like be dealing with other creatives, to even like do the podcast, to have a chance to talk to other creatives, because it's like, I've been in creative quarantine before the pandemic began, and I need people.
No, I feel like everybody's always like searching for that community, and it's something that I'm searching for right now. But I've sort of like hunkered down and just like, I just want to get my work done, and then after that, I'll try and search. But yeah, I feel lucky that I'm able to work with other creatives and people who really like want to push their vision forward. Sometimes it's really hard though, because when you have two creatives, it's like you have a very clear vision, and then the other person has a very clear vision, and then I just feel like I'm fighting somebody. Like, no, I feel really confident about this. But then they're also like, no, well, this is how I want it to be done. And so finding that middle ground is always really hard for me. And I just like feel like it's definitely like an ego thing, and I'm working on it. Yeah. Because it's just like, no, like I'm really good. Like I know what I'm doing. But then at the end of the day, when you do kind of figure it out, you're like, oh, okay, I'm glad we went through this process, and I'm glad that we have this result.
Yeah, it helps to kind of like go along the journey with someone, but to have two different, ideas, but to come together at the end and say, this worked out, even though I didn't really want it to. Yeah. It still worked out.
It's like it didn't feel like we were gonna get here, but
we made it.
We almost killed each other, but like we're good now, like.
Yeah, that's important. Our ideas go like that, pretty oftentimes. He's like, but I'm like, I don't think what you think. It's not. Right. It's we're not in the same brain. We're not in the same head. I don't see what you see. But then I suck. I'll bite my tongue, whatever it's called, and I just do it anyway. So I'm like, it looks nice. And then I show my option, and I'm like, this is better. Sometimes it works.
Sometimes.
It's okay. He's a hater. We always need one in the corner. Keep us grounded and level. But I can definitely see, and feel what that process is like, dealing with the creative. Because at the beginning of our relationship, he wasn't really a creative. He kind of was, but he's coming along to my side of creativity now. So,
I mean, there are so many different ways to be creative. So I feel like sometimes you don't even know that you're creative.
Right.
But then you're just like, oh, damn, like this really requires a lot of like a thought process that's not linear.
Yeah.
And whenever you have whatever, like marketing is super creative.
Yeah.
And you really have to figure out, who your audience is. And it's just like a lot of testing. It's like, it's experiments. And then it's also creativity.
And people don't see that. They look at marketing as kind of like a straightforward thing, but it's like you have to appeal to your audience. So you got to get creative with it. Like, we're just not going to, put this glass here and tell someone like, hey, you need a glass, right? You're going to paint the picture with them. You're going to pour water in it, pour their favorite drink in it, and then set an atmosphere for them to put them in like their favorite environment on a beach or something. And it has something with some ice in it. And you're like, oh, that glass looks nice.
Yeah, it's like you got to trick them a little bit.
Right.
Like not in a dishonest way, but in a way that someone can see their lifestyle, like with this cup.
You guys buy the cup. You can't, well, if you can see the cup, buy the cup. I don't know where it's from, but you can Amazon it. I'm pretty sure that's always a thing. But that is true. And it's not even like being deceitful. It's just opening you up to a new perspective and saying, hey, this is something that you might like. And it's not like down the straight and narrow path. It's a little bit broader. We've got some bumps in the road, but it's like, hey, this is creativity. This is presenting something that you may or may not like. So it's like, hey, have at it. We've presented it. Now it's time to purchase that, which is good for your work. Because how much would you say like you get clients through social media? Do they all come from there, or is it kind of more so like the area and the community that you've created, or like the spaces that you've been in?
So right now I feel like I don't have a ton of, I turned down a lot of things just because sometimes people come to me for just like projects I don't want to work on.
Right.
And I'd rather right now, like I feel like I'm in a transition period. So I really just want to focus on this work. And so, yeah, I'm not really getting a ton of clients through Instagram or through social media. I have before, I have in the past. And then sometimes it's just being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And just meeting somebody and they're like, hey, like I have an opportunity, or like I want to buy this piece, and it just feels
right
like magic. Just like feels like they came out of thin air. And it's like, well, you can only do that for so long. I feel like after those few instances happen, then like you really have to put in the work, and you have to sort of start marketing yourself and putting yourself out there. I still feel like I'm in that process, so I can't really talk about that like too much.
Making our way.
Yeah.
And that's true. I feel like there are a lot of people that are in that space where they're kind of like, I just want to make things for myself, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, then you honestly don't. There's like not much you can do at that point. It's just like, okay, we're here, let's buy and say hi, and then if not, you know, this is it. So I'm curious to know kind of what keeps the creativity flowing even in this like transitional phase.
It's hard. I feel like it's hard for me to, well, yeah, I'm working more on my personal work right now. And then, like I said, doing a ton of stuff for Toby and still. And so it used to be harder for me to sort of like switch between creative things. But now I'm just kind of like, I've had it. I'm up to here with me not putting my passion forward. Wait, can you repeat that one again?
No, can I repeat? What is sparking the creativity? I don't think that's what I said.
Yes,
but...
no, that is what you said.
Okay.
It's like word for word. But I think like the best thing I've been doing to sort of keep my creativity going this year is like I started focusing like on my hobbies, like on my creative hobbies. And I don't have a lot of things where I can just sort of like shut my brain off. And so I've been just like, I've been going to pottery. I went to pottery today.
Awesome.
I've been trying to like figure that out. This year, January, I was like, I need to play in mud. And that has been really helpful. I've also like started playing ukulele. Oh. I've gotten back to sewing. So me just like having another creative outlet that's not like this work that feels really hard. Yeah. And just like giving myself like a few minutes, like maybe every day or like every couple days, I'll just be like, okay, I'm going to work on this for an hour, 2 hours. And then that's been like really good for me. It's just like getting back to like those basic, just those basic hobbies and sort of, I guess, reminding myself to go on hikes. I love hiking. So whenever I can, I'll just sort of like walk around.
Wow. wow, we just sound like so much of the same person. I'm like, I like to hike. I want to get into pottery. It's a little bit more difficult in the area that we live in to kind of find a pottery place. But I don't know if you're listening and you know a pottery place in Northwest Indiana, let me know, because I don't.
I feel like they're around. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Like, I have no idea.
You're
but
like, we're feeling the air.
I also felt like there wasn't any studios around here, and I like searched and searched and searched. I'm like, oh, okay, there are actually a few that are decent.
I'll have to look into it, because pottery for me was done in college, and I was like, I actually like this. And my mom has a piece that I did in her house, so every time I go over, I'm like, this was so fun. We gotta try. But I understand having a creative outlet other than your creative focus, because it's literally work. Like, there's so much body energy going into creating something, and it's like, I just need to relax and like not think. I feel like I've picked up so many hobbies. I pick them up and drop them real quick. I'll come back to them or something, but it's like so important to have that, because it's just like, you painting is just like somebody working a 9 to 5. Like, you're focusing on this it's for yourself, but it's kind of like for my other self, because we're trying to get her together. And now it's like, we've worked on her long enough. Let's play, let's relax, let's unwind, let's do something. And even in like the things that you named, like, I still feel fluidity in that. Like, I can still feel like, the motion of creating the clay and the pieces, even like the motion of sewing and kind of like going through the machine, like all of that is movement, which I don't know, you probably didn't see that or didn't recognize that, but I can still feel movement in that. And even like as you create pottery pieces, no one will, unless, what do you call people that pottery artists?
Oh, I don't know. Potters, ceramicists.
Ooh, I like that word, ceramicist.
Sculptor, I don't know.
So we're going to go with ceramicist.
Ceramicist is a good word. I like that word.
Yeah, if you're a ceramicist, I don't know how to spell that, but I'll figure that out later. But nobody looks at that piece and they're like, they don't see that motion. Like, they don't feel that, like, all the turns and the loops and the bounds, and even, putting the clay on the wheel and like working at that. And that's a physical toll on your body, but that's just like, I'm relaxing. Like, this isn't hard. This is easy.
It's like, it's fun because I feel like the pottery. So today I was like a little stressed, and I think the clay knew that I was stressed. So, and I'm still learning. So throwing just feels like, it feels like it can only become whatever it wants to become. And then I can just sort of help it do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're in control at a distance. Okay, just cut that part. But it's kind of like you're in control at a distance. Like, I'm literally just putting up the boundaries for you to grow, and like, you become your own thing. You do whatever it is that you want to do. I'm just literally gonna guide you through that process and whatever that's like for you. So allowing that inanimate object to have a mind of its own to create something that's so far from what it started, it's just like so amazing. I'm like moving my hands and stuff, and I'm like, I can feel making the imaginary vase that's here. And I don't know, that's just like so cool to me. And I think this podcast probably feels like a little bit different just because like we're sharing the space of creativity. So hopefully, that wasn't a word. Hopefully whoever is listening, like if you're an artist, that you can actually like feel that too, like feel that energy and feel that movement and like the fluidity that's from her. Cause I didn't come here too fluid. I came here pretty like excited and bouncy all over the place.
But now you're just
right. I'm like, what is it, SpongeBob that says loosey goosey?
Oh my god.
That's in my head.
I feel like you're picking up everything that I'm like that's like in this space. Like I just made this cup and it has like this sort of like wavy,
And that's all I
and like
do.
I describe it. I was like, yeah, it's a SpongeBob cup, and like
Wow.
so you're really just. I feel like you're psychic. You definitely have abilities.
Oh wow. Ooh, this is crazy. Okay, let me calm down. Bring myself back to it. But that's really interesting, like just being able to make a connection like that. And you guys, we have not talked ever in life. Like when I say ever,
Yeah, I'm like no interaction.
ever,
Just,
like I met her 5 minutes before we started.
just from like looking and just being like, I respect that person, and then
Right. That is crazy. Like this podcast is probably all over the place, but just cut this out where you're at.
he's like, nah.
Yeah, like, all right. Oh, let me try to calm myself down. Because I just start laughing and then I'll start crying.
Oh no.
I don't want to do that. Because it'll be hard to like come back down from that. We ain't got enough card on the SD. Enough memory. Whatever. Okay. Let me calm down. But yeah, it's nice to be in a space like with another creative person. And I know last year was pandemic, but the world's opening and people are, coming out and going outside. And I would really just encourage someone like, find your creative space, find your creative circle, build that community, because it's really important, even for Meesh that does, primarily self-reflective works. You kind of need someone else to like say like, hey, do you see what I see? Is this like a possibility? Is this working? And, because you primarily just work by yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So which is probably some of the reason why we see some of the, shots on Instagram laying on the floor. We're in different positions all over the place. And it's like just trying to find another eye and another perspective. So I would really just encourage community. And I learned that in college. I think we had Admitted Students Day, and I think it was the dean of students at the time. He's like, look to your left and look to your right. When you graduate from college, you should have a different group of people around you. Nobody that should be in your circle should be doing the exact same thing that you're doing, because if they're doing the exact same thing that you're doing, how are you growing? Like if you're a graphic designer, you need to link in with the filmmaker. You need to link in with a musician. You need to build your community. And that has stuck with me since I went to college in 2012, 13, 12. Yeah, in 2012. So whatever year we're in, I don't know, from 2012, whatever math that is, that has stuck with me this long to literally find your community. Because I kind of did. So we're talking as if I'm not myself here. If I stayed with all graphic design people, I would not go far, like at all, because we're all literally just trying to figure it out together, break into an industry together. But if you have a bunch of creatives that are creative in different areas and different avenues, you can come together and collectively make a piece that speaks more to a collective audience, and not just like you. It's literally a reflection of everybody else, everyone that you have worked with. So kind of finding that community, and hopefully, we're able to build a friendship off of this and, watch each other grow and flourish as artists, because that is important. I know some artists kind of end up at a point where they're like, I've just done all this by myself. And then, they've created all these pieces of artwork, and they get to a point in their life where they're amazing, and you meet them in like an exhibition or a show, and they are just kind of like socially scared. Yeah. They're just like, I'm not really sure, just because they've been dealing with themselves, dealing with their work and, kind of like their frustrations a little bit. by themselves for so long. So like getting to come to that moment where there's a bunch of people that appreciate your work, but they don't have the opportunity to like appreciate you as a person and like as a creative, and to kind of talk through those thought processes, that can be a little alarming. And I hate for the people, hopefully I'm not describing a real person. I'm hoping that that's not the case. Yeah, I know.
I mean, there's like all types of people out here.
Yeah, I was trying to be optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, everybody can sort of fall into that, I think, especially, I mean, I can fall into that. I think I'm by myself a lot, so growing a community is really important. I feel like your space shouldn't feel like an echo chamber and like you're only hearing like yourself. So it's really important for me. I have like a few people in my life who I trust, and I can just like go out and say like, hey, what do you think of this? Or not even like that question. I feel like sometimes that question's a little bit broad.
Yeah.
But like, what do you think of this aspect of my work? And so I trust that person to say, hey, this isn't working, or I don't understand this. And then I have to sort of come out of myself and be like, what do you mean you don't understand? Like, you just don't get it. You know, I hate it when people say like, oh they just don't get it. They're not smart enough. It's like, no, maybe you should sort of listen to that. I mean, obviously you can't just like listen to everything that people say, but having the people that you trust and who you know love you and you love them to like, and trust them to give you a really honest opinion. And then you can sort of reflect on that and then just say like, okay, maybe they were right. Maybe I can do this differently, or maybe you don't have to change it. And then ask somebody else. And then you're sort of, it becomes like a dialogue instead of
just like a
dictatorship.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's a good way to think about it. Because I mean, creating art by yourself can be like, ooh, we're really dictating this. But like, am I giving the piece a chance to like actually speak? Because sometimes we have to come at things in a different way. And if you get a fresh pair of eyes that like haven't seen it and you're like, hey, this is my goal, am I like reaching this? Then they can tell you like, no, when I looked at it, I saw this, but give good suggestions. Not all feedback is worth taking action to, but take a couple. Don't just ask one person, because everybody sees things differently, and kind of collecting that and seeing how you can make it work for yourself, but also make it work for whoever the audience is. If there is an audience, or like, if you're solely just creating it for yourself, then like this piece speaks to my soul, and like, I want it to just speak to my soul, and that's it. But I feel like to have a really successful piece of art, I need to see myself in it, and they need to see themselves in it and be able to relate to it, even if it's on a different wavelength or, a different train of thought, that they're like, hey, I really resonate with this. Like, I don't know what's pulling me to this, but it reminds me of so-and-so time, or whatever memory lane they want to go down on. But having something that can speak to everything. And in the last podcast, I was talking to my friend about it. She had created a piece for her college that she went to enter into a contest, and kind of just hearing her talk about her thought process, and in the video not be too vague, but still appeal to someone, but also to still be like thought-provoking, for you to still feel the emotions that she felt, but to see them in the scope of yourself. It's really important. And art is just like really crazy, because it encompasses so many things, and it can either help you, or it can hurt you, or it can make you think about things that you weren't necessarily prepared or capable to think of or to think about, and to introduce you to new things. And it's just like, how did all of this begin? So how did art begin for you?
Ooh, like
I know I said a lot just to get to
Well, first, I feel like I'm going to address what you said regarding the, I guess regarding like not appealing, but speaking to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll like sort of
loop around.
Back. I definitely, with my work, I feel like it's like super self-reflective and it's very like about me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I think about all the time. Like, it feels so selfish. Like, it feels so selfish to use my work to sort through my thoughts and to sort through my past and everything that I feel is like wrong in the world. But at the same time, I know that like this is what I need to do right now. I just like, I feel it. I need to do this. And the hope is, hopefully it can resonate with somebody else. Like, hopefully it's not too specific.
Yeah.
So like, that's something I'm always like worried about, but also it like the time will come when I'm not making it so specific about this, and this is not the time. So where did I start with artwork? Okay. Just like a hard cut there, but I've been drawing my whole life. And I really feel like Looney Tunes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was really helped me sort of like begin drawing. I feel like I love animation.
Mm-hmm.
Animation has always been a huge inspiration for me. And so that's where it started. And then I sort of just grew from there. Sorry.
That's all right. I think my phone vibrated.
Okay. And then I just started watching a lot of anime, a lot of like Powerpuff Girls, a lot of Pokemon, and just like trying to draw all of these characters. And that's how I got my start, you know?
Yeah, on a good Cartoon Network feel. Because Looney Tunes was Cartoon Network, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Clarification. Yeah. Art, and I can always picture just like when people say childhood is like you drawing what you see, and like for some reason I'm going back to elementary school and seeing everybody draw Tweety Bird and all of the characters and that
Bugs Bunny.
Right.
I feel like me figuring out how to draw Bugs Bunny's feet, I thought was very 3D, and I was like, whoa, I'm really good. I can draw the feet. Like, that's 3-dimensional. Right. It gave me such like a confidence boost. And then like drawing Daffy Duck's like Duckbill.
Yeah,
those were some really, I remember those. Those were some good highlights.
I don't think I ever attempted feet. No, they're kind of like one of the hardest things to draw, feet.
I feel like feet are sort of like a weird thing that I'm kind of obsessed with, like getting right these days.
Yeah, because it can be like, is this what toe are we on?
Yeah. No, oh my gosh. I feel like so many times I've drawn the feet like backwards. And then I'll have to like go back and like after I like look at it, I'm like, wait, this is wrong. Like, those are 2 left feet. Or
wow. And then, that's okay for those dancers.
Yeah.
2 left feet.
But like on a painting, it's like very wonky. Which could work if that was my style, but it's not. So it would just look wrong.
You're like, no, we need this to, what's up here needs to come out here. That's understandable. And I can feel the frustration when things don't work. Like, it's not hand-eye coordination, it's hand-mind coordination. Like, if you don't do what my brain is, thinking, then it's like, okay, we've got a problem here, or we're sketching all over again. We're trying to do all of this over again. So that can be really daunting to think about. There was something that I had wanted to go back to, and I forgot. I'm pretty terrible.
We started with like how I got started on drawing.
No, I think it was something you had said before that. And art is your reflective piece. Yes. Okay. Train of thought. We're connecting here. Okay. Yeah. I don't think, and this is probably like, I don't know what this is, but a lot of people think that when they make self-reflective work, that it is selfish. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe it's like an art school thing where that's like not taught. Like, it's okay to express yourself like in your medium. It's okay to create those pieces that are reflective of you, because if you don't put in the work, like, who else is going to do that? There's literally nobody else that can create your work but you. So it's important to think that way. But also, like, a lot of society is just like, give. What are you giving? Give back to this and give back to that and donate to this and do all this and do all you can until you just fall out and burn yourself to pieces, when it's like, okay, can I create something of myself? Like, this is why I have all these problems, because like I'm forced to either focus on the needs of others or kind of use that as a distraction from my own, thoughts and feelings, to kind of like pour myself in other directions. So that way, when we do finally take the moment to like do something for ourselves, it's like, ooh, I should be doing, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Or I should.
Well, I feel also like I am really appreciative of the people who do that work, who are going, outside of themselves and who see issues in the world, whether that be feminist issues or Black issues like racism. I am so appreciative of those people. But I also just know that that's not me.
Yeah.
And I think like everybody sort of has their like sort of role to play. And so if everyone was doing like political work, or if everyone was doing self-reflective work, it would be pretty empty. Yeah, it wouldn't mean anything. But I think just being comfortable sort of like in your lane and just also appreciative of everyone else.
Yeah. And those people that are kind of, doing the work for others makes it, this probably is going to sound really bad, but it kind of makes it easier for you to do the work for yourself, because you can kind of put yourself in a role to say like, that's not me. There's somebody else that's going to do that. Not to say like, oh my goodness, it's their responsibility to, go out, protest, whatever the case may be. But it's kind of like, we have to understand ourselves and who we are, and like, bro, I'm not capable of doing that. But like, if there's something that I can do to contribute, I'll do that. Right. Or even, providing people with a sense of peace or escape from like the moment of whatever is going on. Because if everybody is focused on correcting and, fixing everything, then it's like, you need a break. You need something else to look at. And nothing will
get done either.
Right.
If everybody's focused on the same thing. Because you don't realize like how many other moving parts that there are. And so also if you're doing, I guess, like the wrong quote unquote like job, you're not going to be the best person to help somebody else. So I'm just thinking of like, if a teacher doesn't feel like being a teacher, and then they're not good at their jobs. And then you get like just everyone's miserable because nobody's doing what they actually should be doing or want to be doing.
Right. And even kind of like being an artist, not everybody is exposed that like, hey, this can be a career path for you. There's so many occasions where we'll kind of like run into people randomly and we'll just be like, this isn't the job for you. Like, it's like, I can literally feel that, or even by like the service that they're kind of giving off, or their personality type doesn't match the job description. And I feel like kind of somebody needs to be held accountable. Like, if you're just hiring people, like just to hire them, like, that's good because we all need money. Can't, function without that, unfortunately. But to, be honest with yourself and like with your employees and the people that you work with, even like your circle and community, like, hey, I know you're working at a grocery store just to make ends meet, but let's find something else to do. Like, this isn't working out for you. You're kind of stressed there. You might be making somebody else's day more difficult. It's all like a ripple effect. We were at at a restaurant, and kind of like our waiter just wasn't the job for him. Because he, like, you know, kind of to be a waiter, you need to be a little bit outgoing, a little bit welcoming, you know, able to talk to people, kind of introduce yourself, introduce the food. And that wasn't him. He was just kind of like, hey, you need your order? And I'm just like, yeah, okay, so how are you?
That would be me. That would definitely be me. I'd be like, throw your water at you.
Yeah, he almost kind of did that. I was just like, okay, here. And he kind of like looked at our table and was just like, okay. And then just like walked away, like, oh, far too many people. But it's being able to understand what is for you and like what isn't for you, and highlighting people in different roles that aren't quote unquote jobs. Like, we need doctors. You don't have to be a doctor. We need a lawyer, but you don't have to be a lawyer. You know, there are a whole bunch of things that we need in life, but we also need artists. We need painters. We need ceramicists, because I learned a new word today. We need those people, because even just like looking around, there's so many things that people make that we go to stores for. I was telling my husband, I don't know what day it was, and I'm like, it's so crazy to think that legit everything we have in the house we could have bought from a person. Like, he made the table, so that don't count. But like, was it? No, that wasn't the table. That was the benches. Memory fails me. But like, if you want a table, you can go to a person and say, hey, I want a table. Like, let me feed into whatever is creatively driving you and like pay you for that. And thinking about like vases and glass and all that stuff, like, we can literally go to a person. We don't have to go to Target. We don't have to go to Walmart. We don't have to go to any other department store. Like, we could literally have something that's made from someone, and it's like, I supported them along their journey, you know, like this fulfilled my need and I fulfilled their happiness. Like, that's such a better exchange for me. And to kind of have that option and that possibility, and thinking from an artist's perspective, it's just like, there's somebody that appreciates my work, to like have an interest to go and buy it. You know, I would say, like, how many times do you find yourself able to support an artist? Because sometimes that can be a little difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely not the best, honestly, when it comes to like purchasing artwork. Like, I guess like this type of artwork. Like, I don't know. I don't buy paintings, it feels wrong. Like, it feels like I should have other people's paintings.
Yeah.
But I have exchanged prints with people, or I've like bought a few prints like here and there from like people I know, or like friends. With this space that I have, I've been trying to buy more locally and to buy from people who like mean things to me, because like I love things. I love like physical objects. Like, they're so special to me, and I feel like when you have something from somebody you love, or you have just like a piece that you love from somebody you don't know but who is an artist, it just like the energy that it brings to my space and to my happiness, it feels nice.
Yeah. To have someone else's belongings kind of like belong to you. And not to say like to pick up the pieces, because that sounds so negative and like so cliche, but it's like to have a piece of them with me. It's really light, and I can attest to that. I don't buy much art. I'm trying to get better at that. It's pretty difficult, like I said before. So I'm trying to get better at that. But I appreciate you letting us into this space and talking to you and finding out how we are connected, long lost twins.
That's how I'm feeling.
Right, like we're all connected. So hopefully you guys were able to take away a lot from this I just want to encourage you that it's okay to create reflective work. Don't always chase money, chase paper, chase the hustle, the grind culture, whatever that is. Chase yourself, chase your healing, chase whatever you need to do to find grounding in yourself so that way you can be the best you that you can be. But thank you guys for listening to this Creative Come Up with Meesh. Make sure you guys follow her on Instagram if you're not already. She's a great person and you can see that in her art. So thank you, and just wait for the next Creative Come Up.